So we're just going to start here. Start with Susan Swift, who's an Iraq veteran. Would you mind reading this for me? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's the same
Okay.
thing. Just read one side.
Stop the deployment of traumatized. Do you want me to stand and say this?
No, you don't have to do all that.
Good.
Good. I like it. Okay.
Stop the deployment of traumatized troops. I said, I can't do it. I can't go. I looked at my mom and I told her, I can't go. And she said, seriously? I just felt my heart was pounding and I felt like I was just frozen. I think I kind of started when I said, I can't do it. It was hard to get the words out. Specialist Suzanne Swift, in 2006, on her decision to go AWOL, which is absent without leave, before her redeployment to Iraq, where she had been sexually assaulted by 3 men in her command. She was apprehended and imprisoned briefly in January 2007. She remained on active duty until 2009 and has been active in anti-war and anti-rape protests. 1/3 of women in the military are sexually assaulted. The military has diagnosed this as military sexual trauma. According to the VA, more than 48,000 female veterans screened positive for military sexual trauma in 2008.
Thank you. So that's where the epidemic starts. That's where the breakdown of the military starts. Militarism promotes dominance, sexual dominance, promotes abuse of all types, sexism, racism. And currently 1/3 of the women serving in the military are sexually assaulted. And, military sexual trauma isn't something that's only an issue for women, but it's something that is really oppressing everyone within the military, with many of the victims females. Jen Hoag wrote this poem. Jen Hoag, Sexual Politics of War, Part 1. Leave the vehicle and look all around closely. Make sure no one is ready to attack you. Turn the corner, look behind you, and around the corner. Make sure no one is waiting to attack you. Approach the door and check if anyone is inside. Make sure no one is waiting to attack you. Close the door so no one will enter behind you, ready to attack you. Enter into the building, look all around. Make sure no one is waiting to attack you. Keep calm when someone appears, should they be more than just walking by. Realize you are not breathing. Relax. Take a deep breath. War. Is it a place young men, targets in uniform, fight in a far-off land? Or is it my walk home at night, womanhood, my uniform and target? Part 2. Are we so different, the warrior and the woman? Stay in your place. One fights their wars, one cleans their kitchens. Both should just shut up and listen. Don't ask any questions. Fight the good fight. Same war on different fronts. So far in front, we are facing each other. Part 3. Is this your choice or a lack of choices? The next piece I'm going to show you is this one. Would you mind reading this one? Is that all right?
I'm all pizza-fied.
Okay, well, should I ask someone
No,
else?
it's okay.
I don't care, a little
Second
pizza.
unpizza-fied, okay.
I'm okay with pizza.
So this is Fighting for the Right to Heal, Eugene Cherry. Here's a young man, a combat veteran, who has clearly sacrificed a great deal for his country. It appalls me that they are treating him like a criminal when he needs mental help. That was Hannah Frisch, a clinical psychologist who diagnosed Cherry with post-traumatic stress disorder and major depression.
So Eugene Cherry is a good friend of mine in Chicago. He was a combat medic in Iraq, and on one specific patrol, EOD exploded a car bomb without clearing the neighborhood, and many civilians, Iraqi civilians, were blown apart because of that. His job was to go pick up the pieces and try and save some of the Iraqis' lives. And when he was home on leave, struggling with those experiences, he went AWOL. And he went AWOL seeking mental health support. He went AWOL seeking justice. And instead he found himself criminalized. Eugene Cherry's story is kind of a heroic story, though, because he ends up getting involved with the Different Drummer, which is the first GI Rights coffee shop of our generation. And currently the work that we're doing at Fort Hood is out of Under the Hood Cafe. But Different Drummer was a coffee house that led his legal campaign that ended up creating space for him to get his honorable discharge. And he's currently in medical school back in Chicago. Let me read another poem. Do you want to pass off someone's food?
Yeah. Protein burger?
Someone got a protein burger.
We ordered a burger with just lettuce. Next one.
I'll eat it. You are not my enemy. You are not my enemy, my brother, my sister, but I have done something wrong, and perhaps I am not yours. I went to your home, I went inside, soiled your rug, and bullied your children. You are not my enemy, my father, my mother. I drove on you, threw garbage in your window, burned your garden, and spit in your water. You are not my enemy, my grandmother, my grandfather. I built walls between us, rubble made sound, and sand scattered plastic bags all around. Rifle and checkpoints, bright lights into your eyes. No, you are not my enemy, my partner, my friend. We are betrayed. You are not my enemy, my child, myself. Our blood is the same. You are not my enemy, my memory is enraged. Remaking sense now, together. You are not my enemy, you never were. You are part of me, as I am with you. You are not my enemy, as we shall stay true. You are not my enemy, we will change this with you. You are not my enemy, you are not my enemy. Not my enemy, my enemy, enemy. Drew Cameron. Basically, what we're doing is acknowledging that currently the military is breaking down. And an adverse soldier has served 3 tours in Iraq. Currently 20%, a minimum of 20 to 50% of the service members that are going over into Iraq and Afghanistan have already been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, with military sexual trauma, with traumatic brain injury. The DoD has regulations against deploying these service members, but they deploy them anyway. Currently, 17% of the service members in Afghanistan are on psychotropic drugs. 15% of the service members in Iraq are on psychotropic drugs. It's clear. So last year, in October, the 9th anniversary of the Afghanistan invasion, Iraq Veterans Against the War, we launched Operation Recovery. And on that day that we launched it, we got a phone call at our national office from a father in Kansas. His son was home on leave, who had been blown up 2 weeks earlier and watched 2 of his friends die. He was experiencing serious TBI and post-traumatic stress disorder, and his wife, extremely concerned, brought him to the emergency room. And we tested him for PTSD, and he was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder right there, then and there. But they said, you know what, your test for TBI, it's going to be in 2 days. So he called his command in Afghanistan and said, I have a test scheduled for TBI. I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And they said, well, that's great, but you're scheduled to be back in Afghanistan in a day, so get on the plane. His name was Jeff Hanks, and his wife and him, they made a choice to go AWOL instead. He didn't return. He didn't get back on the flight. He sought medical support. He got diagnosed by 3 clinical professionals with post-traumatic stress disorder. He was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury, and on Veterans Day last year, he turned himself in. He was part of the 101st Airborne, where when he returned, his command immediately tried to send him back, despite all of this. And so we began a public pressure campaign, and with a lot of folks' support, we were able to stop his deployment. And currently, the military is working with him to get him the medical attention that he needs. But that's just one soldier. That's just one of the hundreds of thousands of service members that are deployed. And we want to stop the deployment of all service members, so we start doing research. That was at Fort Campbell with the 101st, which had heaviest hit division since Vietnam in the last year. Something we don't hear about. More soldiers died last year in the 101st Airborne than had died since Vietnam. And we start digging into like, why is this happening? And we see that there's a couple military bases across the country that are extremely bad at the deployment of traumatized service members. Fort Campbell's one of them, where Jeff Hanks was. But Fort Hood happens to be the worst. It's the largest military base in the United States. There's a minimum of 55,000 service members there. And it has the highest mobilization rate, and it has the highest suicide rate. Last year, 22 service members committed suicide there. So through this research, we realized we needed to dive down into Fort Hood. So we sent an organizing team there to go every day on post and talk to GIs. And that's what we do. We talk to them, we listen to them, we get their contact information, and we follow up with them. We do house visits. From those house visits, we're building a community of dignity and respect. And that community of dignity and respect is standing up for its rights. By standing up for its rights, it's eating away at the military's resource of service members. Because if you take away that 20 to 40% of service members that are being deployed, it's going to be a lot harder for the military to continue the occupations the way it is. So similar to what Ryan was just singing about, instead of going up to the captain's deck, we're going down into the gears of the machine, and we're taking ourselves out of the fight. So that's what we're doing down at Fort Hood on a daily basis. And the reason why Operation Recovery is going to work, you know, IVAW has a long history. You know, we were founded in 2004. We started doing teach-ins across the United States, started talking about our personal experiences, what we saw in Iraq, what we saw in Afghanistan. We took that all the way to Congress. We testified in front of Congress about war crimes that we had committed personally. And that forced the Democratic Party to change its rhetoric around the war, but it didn't end the wars. You know, currently, President Obama is talking about bringing troops home from Afghanistan, but there's still going to be more than twice the number of service members in Afghanistan than when he came into office. My unit is currently in Iraq. There's more service members in Iraq currently than were in Afghanistan during the Bush administration. How is this ending the war? How is this ending combat? Did we say the war in Afghanistan was over? My eyes are not closed. I can see exactly what's going on. And just like the civil rights movement said, we're not going to just take on racism. We're not just against racism. We're going to fight for our rights. And by doing so, by fighting for my right to sit on this bus, we're going to take on racism. And that's what we're doing. We're fighting for our rights. We're fighting for our rights that say our service members have a right to heal, have a right to their body, and that the officers of our military actually have an obligation to uphold, and none of them are. So we're going to make them do it. I'm going to read one more poem, and I'm going to share a few more posters with you. And then I'm going to introduce LT, and let you share a few things with you. I am who survived, forgive me. 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 I am who survived, don't forgive me. I am who survived, don't forgive me. I am who survived, don't forgive me. I am who survived, hate me. I am who survived, hate me. I am who survived, fucking hate me, kill me. I am who, I am who, I am who, I am who helped dirt and dust and death. I am who drove through dirt and dust and flesh and guts. I am who, kill me. I am who, kill me, not them or you or fucking kid on road, on death, on dust, on lust, on blood. Dirt, blood, road, blood, horizon. I am guilt and guts and hate and lost. I am nothing. I am lost and tired and nothing. I am lost, guts, thrown up shit. I am who survived. Kill me. I am who survived. I am who survived.
Who's that by?
I wrote that.
Good thing I asked.
Yeah, I wrote that. Yeah, so I was served in the Illinois Army National Guard, like I was saying, in 2003. I wanted to go get rid of a terrible dictator. I was a truck driver. And my first mission into Iraq was in April. I was really motivated. I was excited to provide humanitarian relief. I thought that that's what I was going to be doing. My first convoy, I wasn't hauling humanitarian supplies, but I still kind of had this conception of what I was doing. And when you cross the border into Iraq, you lock and load your weapon, you put your flak vest on, you put your Kevlar on, and you pull up to this concrete barrier, and on that concrete barrier it says, "Beware of children in roadway 1,000 meters." You know, it's kind of like seeing a deer in the road sign, right? Beware of deer in the road, just like that. Spray painted. It was by the British, clearly, because the Americans wouldn't have even done that much. You know, you could tell because it said meters as opposed to feet. And it's because as soon as you cross the border in Iraq, there's kids all over the place. Kids that are like literally this tall, kids that are willing to jump on my semi-truck, 16-wheeler semi-truck to get food and water. And you know, when I first crossed that border, I thought, oh, cool, these are going to be the kids I helped. These kids that are willing to jump on a semi-truck when it's driving through town to get food and water. But those kids were still on the road 6 months later. They were still on the road 9 months later. And they were still on the road 12 months later, 13 months, 14 months, and 15 months. And on my last convoy out of Iraq, 15 months later, my squad leader, Sergeant Holland, who's a correctional officer in Illinois, works at Stateville, legendary prison. You know, he's seen a lot of shit in his life. I listened to him cry for 3 hours on our last convoy out of Iraq because what have we done? That was basically the question. What have we done? And I know there's a lot of brothers and sisters out there that are asking that same question now. Because when we go on post, no one really knows why they're fighting anymore. You fight because it's your fucking job. You don't have a fucking choice because of the economy. There's no health insurance outside of the military. You got kids trying to get by. So you stay in the military. You sign up again. You know, if you start talking about the fact that you need mental health support, or you need to go to a counselor, or that you've been raped, well, guess what? You start becoming a bad apple because now you need to go get that treatment instead of show up on duty. Or now you're going to start being on medications, right? These opiates that they give service members, Klonopin, drugs that you can't just stop taking because they'll kill you. That's how serious these drugs are. So you're not showing up to formation on time because you're on these drugs that you can't wake up, you can't go to sleep. I mean, 17% of the service members are on those drugs in Afghanistan right now, carrying their weapon, conducting missions. We're test subjects, right? It's like, how many drugs can you give these folks? Most service members, when they walk out of the clinic, they have bags of medicine. And last year, in 2010, there was over 100 service members that died at Fort Hood from over-medication. These are prescribed medications, but the Department of Defense testified in Congress that they can't actually track the medications that they give service members. But they don't have a system that does that. It's because you go to one care provider, they give you something, they give you another care provider for your back, they give you a pain medication, you go to another care provider because, oh, you can't sleep. And they just give you drugs because that's cheaper than giving you counseling. So, that's what's up, that's what we deal with. And we talk to these service members, and we just listen to them. And we're on post, and they just talk to us because it's that fucked up. You know, it's like organizing any unorganized community, but they're ready to be organized. So we bring them together, we create space where now they're just not alone, it's not just their issue, but it's a community issue, where their issue is shared with other service members. And the power grows. And as we build those power locally, we have all this testimony that we can use in Congress to force the military to actually uphold their own laws. By doing so, ending the wars. So, yeah, that's what we're doing. And I can tell you guys more about all the stories that folks are saying. But I know most folks probably came here for the music, so I'm going to keep it short. Would you mind reading this to me, brother? Yeah.
See, PSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. How is this a disorder? What part of a being is emotionally and spiritually affected by gross violence and disorder? Is a disorder. How about going to war and coming home with a clear conscience? Disorder. I think that that would be far more appropriate. Matt Howard, Iraq Veterans Against the War.
That's basically what we're trying to demonstrate, is that war itself is trauma. Militarism promotes dominance. You can't build a democracy with militarism, and this is something that doesn't just affect the military itself, but it affects our entire society. And I'm just going to finish with this last one. I'm going to introduce on T. Would you mind reading this one for me?
The hardest one to see. I seriously,
Can't read it?
I'd rather do my time in jail than be a party to the racism I see in Iraq. As an African American, I grew up with racism, but in Iraq, I saw the same kind of abuse and mistreatment. Only this was U.S. enlisted soldiers and American contractors, like security forces, abusing Iraqis. Rodney Watson, 29-year-old Army, I don't know what else. Specialist from Kansas City, Missouri. Served 12 months in Iraq. He has refused to return and is currently seeking refuge near Vancouver, Canada. Sorry, I struggled to see it.
No, it's a really hard one to see. So, it's these coffee houses, Under the Hood Cafe, The Different Drummer, Coffee Strong, which is up at Fort Lewis. They're the forward operating bases of our mission, our work to end these wars by withdrawing service members' consent. And Under the Hood Cafe, where Operation Recovery is working out of, helped this service member, Travis Bishop, on his CO claim. What is a CO claim? You guys know? What does that mean?
That means I don't want to have any part in this sport. Although I still drive a car. But, yeah.
Well, you want to read this for me? Is everybody there?
Travis Bishop, Sergeant Travis Bishop was sentenced to a 12-month term at Fort Lewis Stockdale for refusing to deploy to Afghanistan. Sergeant Bishop served 14 months in Baghdad with 3rd Signal Brigade. He was seeking a conscientious objective discharge at the time that he refused to deploy, found the ongoing occupations illegal, and insisting that it would have been unethical of him to deploy in support of a war that is morally and legally enforced.
So, Operation Recovery, campaign to stop the deployment of traumatized troops, a campaign to win service members and veterans' right to heal. Something that really not just service members need. We don't need to just heal from militarism, but from the racism, the sexism that's promoted by militarism. And also that we all need to heal from it. I mean, we're all a part of this. Even though it's really distant from our daily lives, we're all still a part of this for us. And it's something our whole society really needs to heal from. Yeah, so we have an organizing campaign going on down in Fort Hood. Every day we're going on post, like I said. And we have guest organizers and resident organizers. And in our first 4 months, we're collecting contact of 600 service members. From those 600 service members, we're doing 60 house visits, and from those 60 house visits, we're identifying about 5 to 6 people that want to be active in our next 4 months. And from that, we're building power, and we've had a team down at Fort Hood for the summer, and we've been doing this tour to kind of raise awareness around that work. And LT came down as a guest organizer as part of Civilian Soldier Alliance, which is a organization that works as an ally organization with Iraq veterans against the war. So I'm going to let LT talk a little bit about what that experience looked like for her, and then we can do some questions and answers, and we'll get back to some music.